Let me tell you, back in 2025, something really shifted in European tech. It was like a starting gun finally went off. All those years of quiet, strategic planning suddenly exploded into aggressive, real-world action. So this isn't just a look back at another quarter. This is about a massive, high-stakes bet on the continent's entire future.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Europe's very own progress report called it a pivotal moment. We're not talking about a new app or a little bump in funding here. This is a huge, coordinated move to completely reshape Europe's place in the tech world.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start by looking at Europe's big gamble, then dive into three forces that are making it happen: the rise of industrial AI, a brand new rulebook for tech, and a huge investment push into what's called deep tech. And then we'll see how it all clicks together in something called the sovereignty feedback loop.
At the very heart of this whole story is a simple but really powerful idea. You've got these three massive trends: AI becoming a real industrial tool, new tech laws, and a flood of cash into deep tech. For a long time, they were on separate tracks. Not anymore. They're all merging, creating this new reality where Europe is aiming to control its own digital destiny. That right there is what this whole sovereignty thing is all about.
First up, let's talk about AI. You know, for years, the conversation was all about theory, about research papers, about what could be. Well, that's over. The focus now is all about real-world industrial power and, this is the key part, measurable, tangible economic impact.
The new frontier here is something called agentic AI. Think about it like this. The AI you're used to, it's like a passive assistant. It can find you a recipe. An AI agent is an active doer. It can check what's in your fridge, create a shopping list, order the groceries online, and then schedule the delivery. See the difference? It's a massive leap from just assisting to autonomously doing.
And you better believe investors are noticing. A 226% year-on-year surge in deals. I mean, that's not just growth, that's a straight-up gold rush. Everyone wants a piece of the virtual coworker.
But, with that much hype comes a ton of risk. For every incredible success story, like Germany's Parloa hitting that unicorn billion-dollar valuation, there are some pretty serious cautionary tales. You had France's H company dealing with a CEO exit, and London's 11X was bleeding customers because its product was just too buggy. It's a real high-wire act, and believe me, not everyone makes it to the other side.
But let's step back from that bleeding edge for a second. The broader picture for AI is becoming super clear. It's actually starting to pay off. By 2025, more than half, 56% of European companies were reporting real financial benefits from AI. That's up from 45% just 1 year before. This isn't hype, it's the bottom line. A growing majority of businesses are seeing a genuine return.
And if you need one single perfect blockbuster example of this new industrial strategy in action, well, look no further. The alliance between ASML and Mistral AI was the deal of the quarter, maybe even the entire year. I mean, the scale is just staggering, 1.7 billion euros. And check out who led the round, ASML. That's the Dutch giant whose machines literally build the world's most advanced computer chips. This isn't some random venture capital bet. This is a deep, strategic statement.
And the really critical part here is why this deal is so brilliant. For ASML, they get to bake Mistral's cutting-edge AI right into their chip-making process, making their world-leading tools even smarter and faster. And what about Mistral? Well, they get a massive war chest to go toe-to-toe with the big American players, plus a partner that sits at the very heart of the global tech supply chain. It's the perfect picture of Europe's new playbook, building its own tech stack, from the silicon all the way up to the software.
Okay, let's move on to our second big force. For the longest time, everyone saw regulation as a roadblock, something that slowed things down. But Europe is now using its rulebook, the EU AI Act, not as a brake, but as a strategic compass to steer the entire global market in its direction.
Now, the timeline here is absolutely key. After a few early bans back in February, August 2nd, 2025 was the big one. That was the day the really sweeping new rules for the most powerful AI models, what they call general-purpose AI, officially went into effect. A whole new era for AI had just begun. So what do these rules actually demand? Well, in a nutshell, it's about a whole new level of transparency. Companies now have to keep detailed technical records, they have to publish summaries of what data they use for training, and they need a clear policy on copyright. And for the biggest, most powerful models, the ones deemed a systemic risk, the rules get even tougher, requiring stuff like stress testing and reporting serious problems.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just a story about Europe. This is what's known as the Brussels effect in full swing. Remember how GDPR became the world's default standard for data privacy? Well, the AI Act is doing the exact same thing for AI. If you're a company anywhere on the planet and you want to sell your AI in the massive European market, you've got to play by these rules. It basically exports Europe's standards to the rest of the world.
This new clarity, this new stability from the regulations, it's not just helping AI. It's actually creating a solid foundation for Europe's other big tech bets. And that brings us to our third converging force, a really coordinated push into deep tech.
And we are seeing these huge foundational bets being made all over the place. In quantum computing, a new strategy is aiming to build an entire industrial ecosystem from scratch so Europe doesn't get left behind. In biotech, you see this frenzy of deals, a serious push for leadership in next-gen medicine. And in advanced materials like graphene, Europe is trying to position itself at the center of future electronics and energy. This is a broad, serious, long-term plan to own the building blocks of tomorrow's entire economy.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. We've seen the pieces: industrial AI, strategic regulation, deep tech investment. But how do they all connect? Well, the answer is in this powerful, self-reinforcing cycle.
It works just like this. Step 1 is policy. Big, ambitious rules like the AI Act create a clear and predictable market for investors. It takes a lot of the risk out. Step 2 is capital. Private money sees that government backing and says, okay, that's a safe bet, and it starts pouring into those sectors. And step 3 is innovation. All that capital fuels the growth of real European champions, like we saw with Mistral, which achieves the original goal. It's an engine designed to create more and more growth.
So look, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Europe is done leaving its tech future to chance. It is now actively, deliberately using its policies as a giant magnet for capital, with the clear goal of engineering its own industrial champions so it can control its own destiny.
Which of course brings us to the final critical question. This powerful feedback loop of policy, capital, and innovation, it's now running at full steam. But is it enough? Has Europe finally built a machine that's actually capable of creating its own generation of tech giants, ones that can truly compete on the world stage? The bet has been placed. Now we all get to watch and see if it pays off.